like, oh my God, man, like, I just don't like the way that reads, you know? So this woman saw this. She's got a pretty big following, this woman does, am/state. I found this on X. And she's got this opinion on porn star suicides, or deaths, I guess, just in general. She quote tweeted TMZ and then said this: I firmly believe once a death like this happens, all porn videos of them need to be removed from the internet. Pretty wild opinion, you know. It's one of these things that happens with celebrity death. What happens? We all go and consume the art form. More so if you're a fan. For me, this will always come back to Eddie Van Halen, an absolute icon in my industry, no debating. And when he died, I came in here the next day and I played nothing but Van Halen songs. I played a bunch of hits, then I played just some stuff I like, some album tracks, and we kind of went all Eddie Van Halen. Most artists do not meet the qualification to do that. You're probably playing them a little bit that day, talk about it, not like Eddie, right? But like, look, everybody was posting how much they like Panama that day. When a celebrity dies, this is what happens. And we go and consume the art. I can't lie, when I heard Cagney Lynn Carter had died, I was like, I wonder if I'm gonna look at those videos later. Now, this will sound mean from a guy who looks the way I do. She didn't really do it for me. And I want you to understand what I mean. If I saw Cagney Lynn Carter at a bar in Ohio, and it was likely, I mean, she lived in Parma, you know, because porn stars make so much money. And so, so if I saw her in a bar in Ohio, I'd be like, you dead? That's a good looking woman. I should maybe hit on said woman. But when you're looking at porn videos, she didn't necessarily hit the strike zone for me. But when I saw this opinion, I was like, well, that's pretty wild. Because we all consume the art. If a celebrity dies in the music world, the streams go through the roof. And so it's an interesting thing. It's like, well, should we remove the art after something like this? Should we? Because somebody benefits by you listening to that music over and over and over the next day after the musician commits suicide. Is it the person who made it? Maybe not. Do I believe we should remove art after suicides? No. Because if we do that, then we're going to have to talk about, well, any tragic death, anything outside of natural causes, which what the hell are those, right? Anything outside of that, that's my point. It's like, once you give in there, then we're going to have to, any tragic death. It was a car accident. Paul Walker, we got to take the Fast and the Furious off streaming sites. Which is crazy. People want to go back to their celebrities in that moment. I've talked about this before. I've kind of turned around on people losing their minds over celebrity death. I have. Especially music. Even movies too. Because you connect with art. That's the point of making it. Is so somebody connects with it. So I understand the loss there. I will get emotional when Paul Stanley dies. I already have half my eulogy I will deliver on the show written. Like, I have it, half of it's ready to go because of who that guy meant, what he meant to me in my life. So I'm not for this opinion, but it's interesting, the idea of it. Now you're going to hear people argue that Pornhub and all these sites, they should give the profits of those videos to her family, but they're not going to do that. I mean, they might. I guess I could say they might. I don't really think much of, well, anybody. So like, I don't think that they would. But when I saw that take, I was like, well, that's interesting, because I believe suicide has affected music more than pornography. Or what I should say maybe, and it is more accurate, is that we care about the deaths that have happened by suicide in the music industry. Chester Bennington comes right to mind. Chris Cornell comes right to mind. Kurt Cobain, even though I don't think he killed himself, comes right to mind. If you took Chris Cornell, Chester Bennington, and Kurt Cobain away from Rock 1069, what the hell are we? Right? Like, so it's like, I can't argue for this stuff. And I honestly don't think it's what's best. I'm trying to keep it outside the porn world, because like, do we really need it? Like, music it's medicine. Or it can be. It's how people heal. It's how people get through things. And I understand why people want to be wrapped in that warm blanket the day after their favorite artist dies. I do. Like, somebody brought this up to my attention the other day. He's like, I don't get when people cry over celebrities dying, and I don't get when people smash their TVs when their favorite team loses. I was like, well, I think there's a little false equivalence there, if you ask me. Again, you connect with art, and so you feel a loss. Now, if you're gambling sports, you obviously felt a financial loss, but don't make that financial loss, don't make it worse by smashing your own TV. Being sad over an artist dying, I think, is way different than smashing your own television. I don't think those are the same thing, and I think one is understandable and the other is crazy. When I saw that take last night, I was like, I get where she's coming from, and I get why she thinks this is a good idea. But if we extend it to all art forms, we would never watch or consume anything ever again.
Kind of funny you can listen to him on your smart speaker.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
The Stan Sperry Show.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
On Rock 1069.
By the end of the hour, getting you into Creed. That show's in November. Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse with Three Doors Down, Mammoth WVH, Finger 11 too. Remember how big that song One Thing was? You could not get away from that song. That was Finger 11. Paralyzer was Finger 11, I believe. Yeah, there's a ton of hits coming from that stage that night, man. That Creed show is pretty damn good. We'll get you hooked up with those tickets by the end of the program. Had been talking about Cagney Lynn Carter, adult actress here from Ohio. Had been living back in Ohio. She had committed suicide, I believe, by shotgun. That's at least what TMZ had reported. And because of that, a woman went online and said, I believe all pornography videos of porn actresses or actors should be taken down after deaths like this. I was like, well, everybody has a right to their opinion, right? I get it. And she wasn't screaming at anybody like, how dare you keep these up? Oh my God, we're gonna... It was just like, this is what I think. And you're allowed to think stuff. I disagree with the assessment, but it's an interesting viewpoint. You know, because I just responded to her. She has not said anything to me yet. But I said, do you feel this way about musicians and their music too? Because that's the first thing people do. Eddie dies, Panama Man, on repeat. By the way, everybody posted how Panama was their favorite song after Eddie died. And that's why we play Panama. Like, go look at when a celebrity dies. Go look at the songs everybody talks about.
Truck out of the way so I can see.
What we play. Why do you guys always play? Because it's what you like. Like that, that's why. Because it's what you like. That's why we do it, right? And so when Eddie dies, you want to listen to Panama. I know I did. It's what we were all doing, right? And so I just asked that question because that's a wild bar to set, you know. And Tyler had been listening, as he's known to do, texted this in at 330-450-7625. He's like, Stansbury, I got to tell you, I'm a little relieved. I thought for sure when you said somebody wants to take videos offline after somebody dies, you were going to go off and preach like you do about how important owning physical media is. Nobody can take it from you. They can't shut it down. Now you can, fap to your favorite star after she's dead, right? And all this kind of stuff. And you know what, Tyler? You're not wrong. There was a little bit of that. And if I'm honest, when I saw her argument last night, I said to myself, don't lean on that argument. Don't do it. It's a good argument. Don't lean on it. You may have to bring it up and you help me do it, but don't lean on that being the reason. I want people to have access to the art form when people die. I'm going to say to grieve here, but which is going to make people eye roll. But I'm keeping this out of the porn world right now, but when you put it in the musician thing, songs take you back to a time. They're time machines, albums are. That's what I love about them. They take me back to that place. They take me back to that person. They kind of they also show me how far I've come and grown, and there's so much there, and I want people to listen to things. And I said, ending the break, that music is medicine, and Dale is a pretty heavy listener of mine, has been for a long time. I've met Dale personally, great guy. And he wrote right in and said, I like that. Music is medicine, but porn is a drug. Well, it's interesting because people will always say music is my drug, and Paul Stanley's my dealer, right? And people say stuff like that. But I do. What you're meaning to say is that music is therapeutic and is helpful, and porn is destructive, is what you're saying. Okay, well that's interesting because I'm willing to bet you, me, and most people, if exposed to every song ever made, we would find songs that we feel are super destructive. Like the one that's coming to the top of my mind right now is WAP. Wet ass vagina is what that is. You know what the word is. I'm allowed to call you one. I'm not allowed to refer to the body part as one. What a fun game we're playing. So fun. But like, I don't know if that's medicine. You know what I mean? But if it makes people feel good, like, because somebody's going to say to me, well, then neither is Black Diamond by Kiss. It's like, well, they're not the same thing. It's like, no, but one makes you happy and the other makes somebody else happy. They get the therapeutic release that you get from Black Diamond. And it would be hard for me to argue that. I mean, it would. That's why I'm not for canceling things. That's why I'm not for removing things from systems. And I'm not. Could you see an argument like this happen, though, that in the immediate future, after a after a tragedy over an artist like that, could you see streaming sites like mine, like YouTube, like Pornhub, like whatever it should be, could we get to the point to where they get muscled hard enough into giving into an argument like that? I mean, come on. I mean, we've seen most corporations in America do things out of fear that they're going to be yelled at by a small, loud minority. I don't mean minority people. You know what I mean. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying, right? I mean, look at what Bud Light did. Bud Light did that out of fear that they were going to be seen as intolerant if they didn't go along with the hot new trend of the day. They found out, no, that's not what our audience wanted us doing. But they were not backed in, but they went into that thinking, let's get out in front of this versus being accused of not doing it. So the point is that corporations feel pressure. I've said it a million times. No company has, like, morality. They will adopt the morality you and I are pretending to have in the moment. That's what they do, right? And that's why it's always so wishy-washy, and that's why we get annoyed with them. So many people telling me they didn't know Cagney Lynn Carter was from Ohio. Yeah, Ohio is, well, we're well known for the adult actresses we are. I found this at Lord of Porn. And because I Googled porn stars from Ohio. So Lord of Porn tells me that these are the top 10 porn stars from Ohio, and this is where they're from. Iggy Amori, I don't know who she is, out of Cincinnati, Ohio. She was born in 1996. That's probably why I don't know who she is. Let's get to the MILF sections, right? Like that's where I feel a little bit more comfortable. Iggy Amori out of Cincinnati, don't know her. Tiffany Starr out of Toledo, don't know her either. Born in 1991, that lady was. Harley Deans out of Columbus, Ohio. I've never heard of her either. Molly Manson out of New Madison, Ohio. I've never heard of her. Karina Blake out of Cincinnati. Again, there seems to be a lot of this down there, and it's not all that surprising. They are much more conservative in Cincinnati and the border of Kentucky than we are even here, and much more so than Cleveland. So look for a lot of people to push back against the systems of where they live and wanting to break out and all of that. So I believe that's what's happening down there. Coming out of Cincinnati, Karina Blake, number 6. Bonnie Rotten, again, out of Cincinnati. Her I have at least heard of. Not necessarily my thing, but we're getting closer to the word star there with Bonnie than we have with anybody I've mentioned yet. Sarah J. Now we're at porn star territory here. Most people who have any working knowledge of that industry at all have at least heard her name. And again, Sarah J. is out of Cincinnati, Ohio, born in 1977. We get our first Cleveland mention here, Shauna Lene, who I have met personally more than a couple of times. We have a couple of mutual friends from her where she was from up there in the Cleveland area. I know a couple of girls who went to high school with her who are still friendly with her. I've been introduced a couple of times. She's been on the show, as a matter of fact. She was super cool when I had her on. Number 2 is Lily Rader. She's actually from Akron. I don't know her. Born in Ohio in 1996. Again, I'm guessing that's the reason why I don't know her. And she's now apparently, I don't know when this was put out, but they say, she turned 20 when this article got put out. Then the number one porn star from Ohio. Again, this is from Lord of Porn, and I would assume they know what the hell they're talking about. From right here in North Canton, baby, Elsa Jean. And for a while, she was running the show. Like, she was the biggest thing humming. And part of it is because she looked like the woman from Frozen, like Elsa. She did. She kind of looks like Elsa a little bit, and her name is Elsa Jean. You can make the connection there. And so, like, she became like she was like scorching on the sun hot in that industry for a little while. Again, from North Canton. That's your number one porn star, according to the Lords of Porn, hailing from the Buckeye State here. I do have those Creed tickets. Let's get you hooked up with those next on Rock 106.9.
You're never too old for a good morning kiss. The Stansberry Show. Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the program on Rock 106.9. Sorry, I'm trying to text promotions back here quickly. Sorry. There we go. Done with that. Now, back to you. I'll get those Creed tickets passed out here momentarily. We'll have those today and tomorrow for you. All right. I saw this out of New Hampshire, where there's a business that wants to open and they're having a problem getting the permit. A controversial business, I'm told. Looking to open in Atkinson, New Hampshire, has been denied a zoning permit by the town. The owner of the business wanted to open an adult diaper spa. According to, I believe, her, the spa was going to cater to adults who wear diapers and act like children. Now, I always say about some of this kind of stuff, man, that I can think things are weird, and I that may come out as a judgment. Sometimes it may sound like judgment. I can think things are weird. I try not to play morality cop because, like, dude, when it comes to sex and it comes to that kind of stuff, I've done some wildly inappropriate things. I've had some wildly inappropriate thoughts. And there was a quote from, honestly, a television show, Ted Lasso, that I liked, which is, be curious, not judgmental. I like that, right? And I need that lesson a lot. I find myself being judgmental a ton. I'm not saying I like that note, that's why I'm good at it. That's not what I'm saying. I said I like that phrase because I feel like I need to adopt it more often into my life. But I guess I am kind of judging this a little. Where they're having an issue getting a permit is where they want the business to be. They wanted to open this adult diaper spa where you're going to put on a diaper and pretend that you're a child, baby, I would assume. They wanted to run it out of their house. And that's why I understand residents around the area not being wild about it. I mean, take the sexual thing out of it. If you just run a very successful business out of your house, I don't want you living on my street. There's a reason why we have areas of cities zoned for business and we have other areas zoned for residential. I remember growing up, there was a woman who cut hair out of her house. And it was like, hush, hush, don't tell anybody. Because she was afraid she was going to get shut down. But like every kid in my neighborhood just walked to her house and did it. And that's just it. Why I would be annoyed about the adult diaper spa next to me. Leave the sexual thing out of it. I don't want cars. I don't want a drug dealer next to me either. I don't want the traffic in and out. I think that's what most people don't want. I don't want cars who don't care about my street coming up and down it when they don't necessarily have to. Is my kid going to get hit riding their bike because people aren't paying? Like, the more traffic, the more we have stuff like that. And the more business you're doing out of your house, the more, like, it's too much. I can understand people being upset about it. Now, is that why people push back? My guess is no. Mostly they probably push back because they're like, we don't want those weirdos in my neighborhood. And I can understand that too. I've said for the longest time ever, I think prostitution, not that this is the same thing, but I think prostitution should be legal. I do. I don't want to live next to the brothel though. Right? Like, I don't. And that's where we run into snags with making certain things legal. It's like, well, where does it go? You know what I mean? Can't put the sex business in front of Target. Oh, wait. Yeah. In Canton we can. Oh, wait. Yeah, I forgot about that. We do that here. Like, that is a thing here. But do I understand why people don't want this in their neighborhood? Yes, I do. And I don't even think it has to come down to the sex. If you had a tattoo artist doing tattoos out of their house and they were massively busy, and you had 50 cars in and out of that driveway every day, it's going to annoy you. Good enough reason not to let them do it? Okay, well, there comes a conversation. Do I understand how the residents get to the point of, no, I don't want this here? Yeah, I do. Most people, you know what they want at their house? Peace and quiet. I was made aware of that yesterday. I'm surrounded by dog owners in my neighborhood, and I love that. I love dogs. I haven't got mine yet. I plan on. In most days, it's like 1 or 2 barks you'll hear. My neighbors are pretty good with their animals. It seems like, 1 or 2 barks, and it's like, welcome to having dogs. It's no big deal. Something happened on my street yesterday, and every dog was just getting after it. I mean, they were all, I think they were communicating with one another or something like, they were just going crazy, and it was annoying as hell. And I thought to myself, well, in 20 minutes, it'll be over. Welcome to animals. It's fine. It's not that big of a problem. As a matter of fact, I thought something must be up. I walked outside to the backyard. Is somebody running through yards? What's happening here? Because dogs can be alarm systems. So I was like, don't just get annoyed. Let's maybe go investigate here a little bit, right? But that noise, did it bother me? Did it annoy me temporarily? Yes. So do I understand why people don't necessarily want more noise, more bustling, more, business happening on their street? Yeah, I totally understand that. What I don't understand is this. Are there this many people who want to dress up in a diaper and pretend to be a baby as a sexual fetish that it can have its own business? Like, if you tell me, hey, there's a sex club, and there are multiples here, right? In most cities, there are multiples. If you tell me, hey, at the sex club my wife and I belong to, a little swinger thing, like if you tell me there is an adult diaper room in one of those places, totally get it, right? This is where the people who are into exhibitionism and some of that kind of stuff, they're all in one place, a little bit of a collection center, the Best Buy of genitals, right? Like, I understand how that house could have a room dedicated to this. But this fetish is so big that it needs its own operating center to handle all the people that are into this. This kind of feels like somebody's into something, wanted to run the business out of their house, and has overestimated how many other people would be into that. I think it's weird, but like I said, try to be curious and less judgmental. Let's get you into Creed. That show is November. That is at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, and I will take caller 20 right now. 800-243-7625 is the toll-free option. Actually live up to the pressure that is put on them. We'll take a look at that, and we'll do it next.
To all the teachers who said he'd never amount to anything.
That is correct.
Lucky guess. The Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the Stansberry Show, where Dustin Schaefer out of Akron won his way to see Creed. He's pumped about that. Like, Stansberry, you have no idea. Nothing makes me happier while doing the show when somebody's really excited with something that they want, or they want it really bad for their kid or something like that. Like, I've said this to you before, maybe too many times. Like, one of the gut punches for somebody in the studio with my job is like, what did I win? It's like, oh, God damn it. Not only do I have to give this to you, but you weren't even listening to what I'm saying. Dude, it's like, dude, that's a kick in the nuggets right there. Like, I'm not in love with that. So when people are excited, I love that. All right, I do want to get to this Charlie Wood story, and I'm going to before the end of the program, but we got to circle back here a little bit, as I was talking to you about a business that wanted to open in Atkinson, New Hampshire. It's an adult diaper spa where they would allow people to dress up as babies and, I don't know, I guess have sex or whatever the hell comes with that. I'm pretty vanilla in the bedroom these days at my age. I've said it a million times. I don't need crazy things. I need 6 things, and I need them a lot. Outside of that, like, I don't necessarily need to be going bonkers with all kind of new stuff anymore, right? I kind of burnt that candle at both ends for a long time, and I just find myself needing less of it these days. But I've been involved in some things. Other people would be like, what the hell is up with that? I mean, none of it's illegal or anything, but it'd be like, geez, what a weirdo, right? And that's how we feel about other people's kinks and what they're into. Now, the problem with the business isn't the fact that they wanted to do it. They wanted to run it out of their house. And I said, well, I understand why other residents on the street don't want it. I mean, take the sex out of it. Just the fact that you're running a business that's going to be busy, I don't necessarily want it on my street. I got to be honest with you. I don't want my neighbor's Airbnb their house. I understand that people should be allowed to. I don't want my neighbor doing it, right? That would be my wish that they not do that. But I understand where the loophole is. If you go out of town for a month and you let your friends stay there and they go, hey, I'll pay your mortgage that month for letting me stay there, we're pretty much halfway to an Airbnb, right? Because then somebody else is going to say, well, I would do that for people I don't know. Oh, you should be able to do that, right? So, like, welcome to how. Hell nah. Like, we ain't going for that. For sure, I understand it. Now, Kelly had been listening, and she sent this message in. She goes, I'm sorry here. She goes, I don't think this is a great idea to normalize adults relating as babies with all the pedophilia that goes on. All right, so here's this is interesting, right? Again, plenty of pedophilia has been out there forever. We're hearing more about it now, and thankfully, because it can help us put a stop to some of it. As I think most people listening, and I would hope that all of us listening and speaking right now would be like, let's end all the pedophilia, right? It's weird, though, because is that the only kink in which you think people are do they really want to do it? Versus are they just acting out something? About, like, naughty schoolgirls? This is, like, it's kind of weird, right? Like, it's kind of weird. Or, like, the cheerleader thing. It is. It's kind of strange, right? But I gotta tell you, when I met my girlfriend, and she said, I was a Bulldog cheerleader, right? I thought, do you still want the outfit? I can't lie. It's one of the first things I thought. And then I was like, why do I want to know that? Now, it is still about her being in it. Because I think she's beautiful. I've always thought she was beautiful, right? Even when I want to kill her, I think she's beautiful. That's why we keep staying together, right? But so it's about her being in it that I'm going to find attractive, But, like, it's weird. It's like, well, where do we draw that line of what's okay to pretend to be doing in your sex life versus what we think people secretly really wish they were doing? Like, does a furry, and for those of you that don't know what a furry is, congratulations, you made it this far without finding out, but here it comes. These are people that dress up basically in mascot costumes. And they normally take over a hotel room somewhere in town, and apparently, I don't know, they grind on one another and then they bang it out. I don't know what goes down. I'm not a furry. I'm not into that. It's not my kink at all. But am I to believe that the person who's dressing up as a furry wants to sleep with a zebra? I don't know about that. Like, that's a pretty far cry from bestiality, right? Also, the person who's going to the adult diaper spa who wants to be dressed up like a baby, is that pedophilia? Right? Because you're the one dressed up as a baby. I'd almost be more concerned about the person who could interact with the person dressed up as a baby for the money. Like, I would almost be more concerned about that. Now, again, this brings us back to something I've always said. Just because you desire it doesn't mean it is good. Like food, man. Just because you desire that 10,000 calorie meal doesn't mean you should have it, right? Like, there's a little bit of this in that. The other thing about the business is this. What has everybody always said about these kinds of kinks or what people are doing? I don't care what you do in the privacy of your... It's when we see it out in public where I have an issue. Well, the problem with the diaper spa business is they wanted to run it out of somebody's home, but that's not the privacy of your home. That's essentially turning that home into a business for other people to continue. So now all of a sudden I think people could be bothered by what you're doing in that residence. By the way, I've always said, I don't care what you're doing in the privacy of your home. Lie. Do I care if you're cooking meth in the privacy of your home? Yes. Do I care if you're manufacturing your own weaponry in your home? Yes. Do I care if you're downloading child pornography alone in your home? Yes. I'm going to assume here that the person who wants to be dressed up like a baby, like, that's coming from a place of something happening. This guy, stop it, David, he went bonkers. Husband boyfriend, girlfriend, Canton, because her and I do break up a little often, right? So I want a brothel. We'll do Avenged Sevenfold 9:30 tomorrow. Your Creed tickets again at 8. Looking forward to that. I can't believe tomorrow's Friday and all of that, but still, I feel like the rest of the week just flew by for me. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. So, got lucky this week on that. All right, so I saw Tiger Woods' son, Charlie, is about 15 years old, and he's set to try to compete or enter his first PGA event. Now, this gets a little convoluted because he has to play in not one but 2 different qualifiers to make it. Most golf insiders, most people covering the sport, golf fans, think he's not going to make it through both qualifiers to hit the PGA event, but he could. He's all of 15 years old. There's going to be so much pressure put on this kid. I mean, look at what Bronny James is dealing with right now. Bronny going to USC, and the family keeps talking about how he's going to be an NBA pick, and somebody's going to pick him, but he's not necessarily a first-round NBA college player. But people are killing the kid because he's not his dad. It's like, well, stacking most athletes up against LeBron is nuts. Like, it is. It's nuts. Like, I get people don't like him, right? Some people don't like, he's a little mouthy on some things maybe and all of this or whatever, or he's not as good as Mike, whatever the thing is. But, like, LeBron has his haters out there, right? He's brought some of it on his own. I don't think all of it. And as a matter of fact, I got to tell you, the fact that he stayed this controversy-free this long into his career, that needs to be applauded a little bit. It should. More people should talk about that with his legacy. Then it does get mentioned, not as often as I believe it should. But Charlie Woods is going to go through this because his dad was the most dominant athlete in their sport, in the history of the sport. You can laugh all you want because you don't think golf's a real sport, but Tiger was dominant, baby. And I mean dominant. There is no version of losing that many NBA finals in Tiger's career like LeBron has. There's no version of that. Tiger just won. The man won a U.S. Open by 15 strokes. That's 3 par 5s, babe. And then he woke up the next day, called all his golf instructors and said, I want to retool my swing from the ground up. He felt he could get better. He won by 15 at the U.S. Open. Wasn't good enough. There's another level. Now, it's part of that story. We should mention that. But that's who Tiger Woods is as the athlete. He was looking to step on your throat every last tournament. Didn't matter. Buick Open, I'm going to beat you by 60. Like, it didn't matter. And it's going to be interesting to see how Tiger handles his kid. Because his parents today would get crucified by how they raised Tiger. Crucified. They were relentless with him. Society. When Tiger was coming up, it's like, that's what it takes to be a champion, baby. He's got that Michael Jordan thing. He's got that Kobe Bryant thing. Like, some people just have it. Tiger Woods had it. It's going to be interesting to see how he pushes Charlie in that regard. He maybe has some regret on the fact that his life was all about golf. Now, Charlie doesn't have to support his family financially the way Tiger was kind of being leaned on, especially when he started to enter real tournaments in the life, right? So, like, there's that angle there, too. Is he going to be able to live up to the hype? I don't know about that, man. Because, again, your dad's not just some guy. He's Tiger.